Hello to the guys, the gals, and the non-binary pals. I am Yugi Joe, and this is an extremely exciting time to be watching the channel right now. In fact, as you're watching this video, there is between 0 and 8 billion people watching right this second. Somewhere, in between those two numbers. But someone who must be watching this video right now is Filmform Studios, because he has commented on basically every video I've ever uploaded, asking where this video is. So enjoy, Nate. It's out, finally. A long time ago in 1988, there was a show called Ronin Warriors. This was a sort of Power Rangers-like show, where based on certain virtues, 5 teenagers could gain armor and weapons to defeat an evil demon lord that the equipment originally belonged to. Of course, the original show was meant for kids, and 37 years later, I expect the new one to be also off the fucking chain? What the hell? So let's talk about Yuri Shinden Samurai Troopers, a sequel 37 years in the making. In the world of Ronin Warriors, or Samurai Troopers, these original 5 troopers don't actually feature in the new 2026 storyline. So how do we know this is a sequel rather than a reboot? Well, it's actually quite simple. The original troopers' story has become famous 37 years later in their time, and one character persists, a Yagyu Nasate, who in the original show was a dear friend to all 5 troopers, but in the new show leads the DST, standing for Defense Special Incidents Task Force. To see this character who once felt like a helpless teen turn into the head of a task force dedicated to training the next generation of samurai troopers makes me truly believe immediately in the character development and storytelling of this show right now. But in order to showcase that, we need to stop talking about the original show and start talking about the world of Samurai Troopers in the great year of 2026. So we actually join the world where DST is in operation as a sort of celebrity police force, training the next generation of Samurai Troopers. However, none of these troopers can actually utilize the Samurai Trooper armor just yet. They can only use the under armor, and there's actually no reason for them to use the full armor either, because, well, there aren't any demon forces to fight against right now. The original demon from the first show was defeated by the original Samurai Troopers, so all seems a bit too peaceful. The new troopers seem like celebrity jerks who are just in it for the fame, apart from one of the troopers, Musashi, who clearly sees this as an opportunity to be a hero, which in the modern day he can't do much of. Well, that is until giant gates appear in the city, and a new demon lord with new demon generals sends through a horde and starts wiping civilians off the map. We see this in one of the most spectacular displays of diegetic sound meeting non-diegetic sound, as the main red samurai villain begins to sing a song as he's killing the civilians, so that when we cut to the other samurai villains killing the civilians, say that 10 times over fast, the full studio track begins to play. This is incredibly good intro for the sound design department and creative choices that were made during the pre-production elements of the show. They clearly thought about this character who would sing when fighting and how this would lead into the rest of the story as it becomes an element to look out for. And also just from a personal point of view, God, this is such a good scene. It immediately grabs me and washes away all the mundaneness of the world we were just seeing. During the attack, 2 things of note happen. Firstly, a blue-haired character running down an alley named Kaito sees that his grandmother has been killed. He is distraught as he watches the red samurai villain killing others as he walks by. The second being that the current team of samurai troopers attempt to fend off the red samurai villain, to no avail. Musashi stands as the last one not willing to give up, but ultimately is no match for the villain. However, at the last moment, a character clad in green shows up, and his name is Ryusei. He throws a smoke grenade to save Musashi and dons trooper under armor thanks to his friend's armor gear. Now battling Big Red, Ryusei is doing a much better job, but the battle is halted almost immediately, as it seems that an enemy villain sniper has shot the red samurai villain. He drops to the floor, transformed from a demon to a human, and before the smoke clears, Ryusei takes that human into the back of his vehicle, but he doesn't see that the whole time Kaito from the alley had spotted them. Ryusei catches up with Musashi back at the base and is telling him that he should believe in himself and that he has everything it takes to be a real samurai trooper. Not that that character can believe in himself right now. It does hint towards the rest of Musashi's team really not being up to snuff and not having what it takes. Some minor events happen next. The red samurai villain wakes up after being tested on at the labs at DST, and the demon generals meet to discuss a plan to get their lost soldier back home. This is foreshadowing that our red demon general may be a little bit bit more important than you originally think. Two events now start happening at once. The Red Demon General reveals that he is technically the body that the new big bad wants to use to take the world again, confirming his name is Guy. And the second event is that DST tests an ancient jewel on him to determine something unknown at this point. Now, back on patrol, here's where the show really starts to twist that knife, because those celebrity troopers we talked about at the start, the one who were in it for the fame and couldn't activate their armor, well, the show hasn't forgotten about them, and neither has Guy. After the dust settles from the attack, Musashi's celebrity trooper teammates show their true colors in the ruins of a collapsed mall. They're refusing to help survivors, they're looting corpses, and planning to sell all of what they find. When they discover two children trapped alive under rubble, rather than trying to save them, they try to eliminate them as witnesses. When Musashi tries to intervene and help the kids, they turn on him too, leaving him trapped under the rubble himself. That's the scene you were heading toward, recontextualizing everything about the flashy boy band setup in the worst possible way. But don't worry, Guy is out of the DST facility and he has found them. And he didn't challenge them or monologue them. We know he's a brutal killing machine and he just starts killing them methodically, brutally. These characters, who the show represented as the face of the Samurai Troopers program, are gone before episode 1 is even over. What a statement this show is making right now. It's not messing around, and this is absolutely not for kids anymore. But here's the thing that makes Guy genuinely fascinating as a character rather than just a cool villain. The lab results come back from DST's tests, and it reveals that he isn't a demon at all. He is just a human boy, a 15-year-old human boy who was raised from childhood in the demon realm as the adopted prince of Ramaga himself, apparently. He doesn't know how to be human, he was literally engineered to be a weapon, and he's been sent into our world as the tip of the spear. And that is why the show spent the first episode letting you think he was just the big bad, because now you have to sit with the fact that everything he did because it's all he's ever known. The episode ends with Musashi seeing the aftermath, horrified after being saved, and Kaito again being there to have witnessed Guy's brutality for a second time. So episode 2 picks up with Guy back in DST custody, and Nasute is not taking any chances this time. The DST scientists fit him with an electroshock collar connected directly to her phone. He insults her, zap. Withholds any information, zap. It's honestly hilarious and does a lot of work in establishing her character. She is not the helpless teenager from the original show anymore. She is fully in charge, and she will remind you of that every opportunity. But DST has bigger problems, because the demons aren't done. Another assault is beginning, and this time there's a familiar face showing up to make things complicated. Kaito, the blue-haired kid from the alley, the one who watched his grandmother die, the one who has now seen Guy cut down the shitty troopers in cold blood. He has shown up at DST, and he is not happy about any of this. Kaito is a really interesting contrast to Musashi here, where Musashi is reserved and questioning himself. Kaito is direct and principled to a fault. He outright refuses to work alongside Guy, and honestly, it's fair. The man killed people in front of him twice now, and this is where episode 2 does something pretty clever with the tension that's been building. Because it turns out Guy didn't kill Kaito's grandmother. It was a character named Nezu, one of the demon generals, who struck her down during the initial invasion. Worse than that, anyone cut by Nezu's demonic blade doesn't just die. They come back as a puppet. So when Kaito goes to pay his respects to her body, he finds himself surrounded by an entire makeshift morgue of puppets, and his grandmother is among them. And Kaito has to be the one to end it. Her dying words to him are to live a rock and roll life, because apparently she was a lover of old 80s hits. The show is planting a seed right there though, because Guy, the kid raised in a demon world frozen in the 1980s, loves exactly that music too. The same songs.
It's a small detail in episode 2,
but matters enormously later. But yes, when a bus full of civilians get caught in the new demon attack, Kaito finds himself outmatched and has to make a choice. Stick to his principles or ask for help from the last person he wants to owe anything to. But he does ask for help, and then Guy tells him he's on his own, which is a brilliant little character beat here, because it shows you exactly who Guy is right now. He's not a reluctant hero. He's not secretly good. He's a weapon that has decided it no longer wants to serve its original master, the Body Snatcher. That is it. Everything else is a new problem. However, seeing Nezu, the Demon General again, does align Guy to fight alongside DST at this point. And I do have one criticism to level at this episode specifically, and it's aimed squarely at the writing. Guy's motivation shift is kind of rushed here. In episode 1, where he was humming songs while decapitating people with a smile on his face, in episode 2, we are being asked to accept that he has turned against Ramaga and his fellow demon warriors because he doesn't want his body used as a host. It's a compelling reason on paper, but the show doesn't give it room to breathe. It just sort of happens. There's a moment where he shows something resembling empathy when a human dies near him, and the show seems to treat that as a sufficient explanation for a heel turn, but I don't really think it's enough yet. Hopefully the episodes ahead do the work to earn this moment retroactively. So the fight begins properly between Guy and Nezu, and here is the moment the episode has been building towards. Ryusei transforms early in the episode with a quick armor up into the Flash armor. It's fast, functional, and looks fantastic. A real good upgrade from the original green armor of the show. But the real showstopper, it comes at the end of the episode, when Guy is finally pushed far enough and transforms into the Shakunetsu armor for the very first time. The show pulls out all the stops, fire effects, a full artistic sequence, and it is almost a shot-for-shot HD upgrade of how the original show handled transformations back in 1988. For fans of the original series, this is going to hit like a train, but for newcomers, it is just genuinely an incredible piece of animation that blesses us for every second of its runtime. What a unique henshin sequence this is. He then swiftly executes Nezu's smug ass with one of the sickest sword crosscuts I've ever seen. But episode 3 wastes no time. Before the dust has even settled from last week, someone is already barging through the doors of the DST uninvited. Yamato, who introduces himself as Musashi's older brother and announces he wants to be a samurai trooper too, right now. Now here's the thing, Yamato and Musashi aren't actually blood related. Yamato is the older of the two, and at some point he just decided Musashi was his brother after a pretty tragic shared backstory. He gave him his surname, and that was that. He was going to protect him forever, which tells you something you need to know about Yamato as a person. He's loud and brash, and the first thing he does upon meeting Mirai, the DST scientist, is completely get starstruck by her, but he is a kind soul. The show is aware that he's a lot, and it leads into it for some welcome comedic relief after 2 pretty brutal episodes, but this is a serious character. Anyway, before any of that can go anywhere, there's a training program to get through first. The DST runs the new recruits through what I can only describe as a VR gauntlet designed by someone who genuinely does not like them. And here is where Yamato immediately becomes a problem. Because while Musashi and Kaito are starting to find their footing with their armor, Yamato can't transform at all. He keeps trying to brute force it with sheer aggression, and it just won't take. Every attempt either fizzles out completely or stalls halfway. The guy who kicked the door in and announced himself like he's already got the job is now watching everyone else move ahead of him without breaking a sweat. It's a really smart way to introduce him because it immediately undercuts his bravado without making him look stupid. He isn't failing because he isn't capable. The show makes it clear that he has everything physically that is needed to be a samurai trooper. He's strong. He's failing because he's trying to fight his way through something that doesn't work exactly like a fight. And that distinction is shown in later scenes. Now, there's a conversation that needs to happen in episode 3, and we finally have it. The team sits down and addresses the elephant in the room, which is that Guy killed a lot of people in episode 1 and is now just training with the rest of the team. Ryusei makes the case that Guy was raised from birth in a demon world where humans were essentially livestock. He didn't have a framework for what he was doing back then being wrong. It's not a satisfying answer, and the show kind of knows that, but they immediately counter it by saying if Guy steps out of line again, there will be consequences. But that settles it for now. Guy himself stays silent through the whole debate, whether that's because of his guilt or just indifference. The show keeps his feelings deliberately ambiguous, and I think that's the right call because we're about to see what side he's truly on this episode. Then the Demon Generals make their move, attacking the team at their training grounds outside of the VR. They try to get Guy back on side by sending a message. Ramaga won't retaliate. Come home, all is forgiven. Guy doesn't buy a single word of this, which is honestly the first moment where I felt the show earning his character turn a little bit. He knows exactly what Ramaga is because he's known him his entire life. So Guy takes the general's manipulation and flips it. He starts manipulating himself. He stages an attack on Musashi, and he appears to go rogue, turning on his own teammate, beating him down in front of everyone. And it works, because watching Musashi get hurt is the exact thing that finally cracks Yamato open. But here is where the episode does something really beautiful with it. Raw rage isn't enough. Yamato starts to transform and it stalls, and then his memory resurfaces. It's two kids lost alone in the woods, and a middle-aged man with a distinctive sideburns who finds them. He calms them down and he tells them that rage is powerful, but a calm and collected mind is true strength. And if you know the original show, you'll already know who that is. It's the main guy. If you don't, the show credits him only as Yamato's hero. But they brought back the original Japanese voice actor to play him, so it's pretty obvious. And that single detail is enough to make longtime fans completely lose their mind. And it is an incredibly respectful nod to the legacy of the franchise without alienating anyone new. Also, kinda crazy that two of the characters from this show may have been raised by one of the 88 Samurai Troopers. But now, Yamato. He takes a breath. He transforms and he calmly walks up to Guy and shoulder checks him out of the way like he's nothing. This guy is a unit. Then him and Guy team up to cut the episode's monster clean in half. It is absolute cinema. Everyone's now in on the same page that Guy really wasn't turning on them and that he was just tricking Yamato to get him to transform. The episode then ends with a new face appearing, Shion, a former samurai trooper who's apparently been off-grid for some time, and he is not here to catch up. He has a very specific grudge aimed directly at Ryusei, our green, and episode 3 closes before we find out why. 3 episodes in, and this show has already set up more interesting threads than most series manage in a full season. We are only just getting started though. If you want to see more from Samurai Troopers, drop it down in the comments, and I may cover the rest of the series. But either way, I think you should check this out. Thanks everybody for watching. Nate, I hope you're happy. I've been Yugi J, and peace.